Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Mystical Visions. So, today's reading is interesting because today you're going to feel a little called out, but that's okay. We're here to heal and grow. But today I want to take a look at something that you have been running away from. So, we're going to dive into what this is that you've been trying to escape, why you may feel the need to escape this, how you can heal it, why it's important to heal it, and what the potential outcome of the situation will be once you heal it. So, as always, I've gone ahead and pre-shuffled some cards. For pile number one, we have a sodalite crystal, which we will focus on. There we go. For pile two, we have a jade. And for pile number three, we have a citrine. So as always, I'll give you guys some time with these three stacks of cards. Go ahead and pick whichever one calls to you intuitively. Timestamps, as always, are down in the video description. If this video resonates with you, if you enjoy it, then please do like, comment, subscribe, maybe share it with someone else who might enjoy it as well. But yeah, without much further ado, I'll see you at your reading. Pile number one, hello. So if you guys picked this blue sodalite crystal, then welcome to your reading about what you're running away from, why you feel the need to run away from it, and also how you can heal / face it and the outcome of the situation once you do. So I've gone ahead and pre-shuffled your cards. This half of the reading is going to tell us what it is you're running away from and why you feel the need to do that, all of that stuff. And then this side is going to tell us how you can heal it, what you gain from healing it, and also what the outcome of the situation will be. So let's just dive right in. So our first two cards are, wow, I feel a little all over the place. We have the Knight of Cups in reverse. And that is clarified by the Knight of Pentacles. Whoa, okay, sorry, pile one. I had a bit of a coughing fit. So you guys might be going through either some sort of throat chakra blockages and trying to work with that. Which the blue sodalite is a throat chakra crystal, so there is that. But with these two knights, the Knight of Cups is usually someone who is quite emotional, brings forward an emotional message, brings forward almost think of it as a love letter, right? The Knight of Cups is someone who is forthcoming with their emotions, happy to express, happy to say exactly what is going on in their heart, and is genuinely proud of feeling the way that they feel. Whereas the Knight of Pentacles is almost the opposite energy. It's a very reserved energy, where the Knight of Pentacles is someone who wouldn't take a step forward unless they knew for sure that it was going to be a worthwhile investment. So it does feel a little bit like you're running away from either your own emotions or expressing your emotions because you're not sure how it will be received. Perhaps you have feelings for someone, or perhaps you have something on your mind that you want to share with someone, but you won't express them because you don't really know if that's going to help your situation. You don't know the outcome, and therefore you would just rather not say anything. So if that's your situation, let's go ahead and take a look at these two cards as well. We have the World, clarified by the Six of Swords in reverse. Yeah, it's almost like in your mind, this idea of the ultimate happiness cannot coexist with the idea of peace and just a peaceful resolution, honestly. Um, so somewhere there is a sort of disconnect between your ideal outcome and your idea of what makes people happy. So you might be in a very people pleasery energy. You might be in a position where maybe in the past your emotions have not been validated or accommodated for. And as a result, you feel like expressing your emotions will, one, take up too much space in someone else's life, and two, it will never bring you happiness. It will never be received in such a way that would make people happy. The oracle card we have is the offering. I will read this from the book, but it almost feels like, okay, this is very strangely poetic, so forgive my flights of fancy, but maybe that's something you feel like your flights of fancy are a little too a little cringe, a little too extra, and that no one really wants to hear it. Not true. Because if you're hearing this after I warned you about my flight of fancy, it means there's at least one person out there that is happy to receive your flight of fancy. But okay, anyway, the point I was trying to make is from this card, intuitively, what I'm getting is you almost have a feeling of devotion towards someone. This sense of so much love and care towards this person or idea or project or object. It does feel like a person, though. I don't know why I keep trying to deviate from it. There's almost a sense of you want to build them an altar and you want to bring them offerings. You want to give them things, but you're not sure if it will be received in the right way. And you're worried about moving too quickly, moving before they're ready. Maybe the outcome not being ideal, maybe things not turning out quite the way you would want them to. And so you refuse yourself the ultimate happiness because it could potentially lead to conflict. Like, there is no guarantee that you expressing your emotions will disturb the peace. But there is a guarantee that you not expressing your emotions won't bring anyone anywhere, and it will just keep the status quo. But let's go ahead and read this, the offering from the book. It is number 64, I want to say, but you guys already know this. I'm not the best at Roman numerals. I'm Indian. Okay, the offering, the gift, the present, the sacrifice. Unlike many of the other cards in the deck, the offering carries a clear as day message and a call to action. As you may have guessed, it is time for something to be given and given up for the sake of the bigger picture. If nothing comes to mind immediately, take time in meditation to consider what must be offered and who is to receive it. It's likely you'll feel attachment and hesitancy. You'll make excuses, but recognize the link between sacrifice and the word sacred. One leads to the other. For now, start small. Generosity, donation, volunteering, but when dark, giving with expectations, keeping track. Okay, you might be someone who struggles with having expectations or asking for things. You might be someone who has been so consistently disappointed in the past that even the idea of expecting something to turn out a certain way freaks you out a little bit. I only laugh because I know exactly how that feels. But you have to understand that your experience so far has only been a small fraction of the world. And, well, the world is way bigger than what you think. And the you that has experienced all of these things so far has grown beyond their initial limitations. You have grown into a person who is now in alignment with something more powerful, something more sort of, wow, I can't seem to find the words. Something more attuned to what you truly deserve. Whereas in the past, you may have settled for things that sort of gave you breadcrumbs. If it's a relationship, you may have settled in the past for relationships that gave you the bare minimum. But since no one else was offering you anything at all, you took it and you thought that's good enough for me. And now you're in a position where you have this intense longing for something or someone that you know would be your wildest dreams come true. And you know deep down is meant for you. And the only reason you refuse to allow yourself the pleasure of having them is the fear that they might reject you. And don't take this as me invalidating how you feel, by the way, because I don't want you to feel like, oh, I'm poo-pooing your fear. It's a very valid fear, and it's completely fair enough that you're hesitating to speak your mind. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of inner strength to be that vulnerable with someone, especially if you don't know how it will be received. That said, you will never know unless you try. Is the crux of the matter here. So let's now look at the second half of our reading and see how you can go about healing this or facing this, or in your case, expressing this, or at the very least, working up the courage to. All right. We have the King of Cups, beautiful. And that's clarified by the Fool. Yes. Okay. Just tell them. Part one, just tell them. Honestly, because with these two energies, it's an interesting juxtaposition, because the King of Cups is very emotionally mature. It's the ultimate command over love, over feeling, over pure emotion. It's all those watery things, right? And he is the sovereign over it. Whereas with the Fool, this is a beginner. This is someone who has no experience, is about to embark on a journey, hasn't even begun their journey, right? And it feels like you embody both energies. So for the most part, you might be in your King of Cups energy of emotional maturity, emotional sovereignty, having control over how you feel. And when it comes to this person, suddenly it's like, oh, I know nothing. Suddenly you almost trick yourself into thinking you don't really know what's going to happen. You don't really know what to do. You don't really understand anything. You don't understand your feelings. Whereas deep down, you know how you feel. And I think realistically, you also know what the likely response is going to be. And it does feel like this situation could bring you like your happy ending, really. However, this Fool energy, it can go either way, right? So when you look at the energy of the Fool, it is someone with no experience, someone who is quite naive, someone who doesn't really understand things, doesn't have a lot of skill or practice under their belt. They're just starting out. Or you could look at it as someone with an endless amount of hope, an endless amount of optimism, someone who is untainted by the cruelties of this world. And yes, there will be challenges moving ahead, but they haven't been beaten down by the difficult experiences that more mature energies have. And I think your your challenge here is to try and embody both these energies simultaneously, of someone who knows how the world works and understands um, their own self, their own emotional um, strengths, has ultimate control over how they feel, and someone who can put all of that aside and really just indulge in the novelty of the situation. Just really allow yourself to be drawn into something new and fresh. Next, we have the Queen of Cups in reverse. And that's clarified by, the Nine of Swords also in reverse. Okay, the Queen of Cups upright is someone who has just as much control over their emotions as the King of Cups. But the Queen is the only one where that cup is closed off. There's a lot of water energy here. The Queen is the only card in the Suit of Cups where there is usually a lid on the cup, or in this case, her hand on the cup. And so this is more of that closed off energy. So to have it in reverse, the advice for you here is very much to take that lid off, spill, just let it all out. Because you can very much trust yourself to know exactly what to say, because you've likely rehearsed this a million times in your mind already, and B, know what's appropriate and what's not. Because I think you worry you might say the wrong thing. But with the Nine of Swords in reverse, the Nine of Swords is the anxiety card. So in reverse, it's telling you this is baseless anxiety, in the sense of there is no potential outcome to the situation that you wouldn't know what to do with. There is no potential future here that you wouldn't be able to deal with, because you're in this King of Cups energy, right? You know how bad it can get, and you've dealt with how bad it can get. So the worry here is very much about repeating old cycles, I think. And that is totally fair, but you're being called to embrace this full energy of this time, just this one time, things might be different. And if they are not, you do it again. Maybe just this one time, things are going to be different. And you keep putting yourself out there, and you keep going, because that's how the King of Cups gets to the position that he is in. That's how the world gets to the position that it's in, where you really just look at the fear that you feel and say, okay, I understand that you're here to warn me about things that could go wrong, and I'm going to do it anyway. I think you're very much being called to embrace a little bit of Aries energy, because that's kind of our thing. But your advice card, this is from the Starseed Oracle. It says, water your garden, nourishment, body care, tenderness, rest. One thing that might help you build up the courage, build up the confidence to do what needs to be done could be self-care. Because a lot of the times, the reason we are afraid to put our emotions out there, particularly in relationships and when we don't really know what the outcome is going to be, the reason we are so afraid is we feel like we won't be taken care of, if that makes sense. Where if someone doesn't reciprocate our feelings, it can feel like abandonment, rejection. It can feel like your heart has been broken and thrown into the garbage. So maybe showing yourself that you are deserving of love, of care, of nourishment, of tenderness, of rest, before you even speak to whoever this is, it can kind of tell your mind, like, hey, it doesn't really matter whether this person cares for me because I am cared for regardless. And that could be something that really helps you build up to going ahead and saying this without the fear of having your heart stomped all over. That said, though, I do also want to read this one from the book, Water. It'll be after this one, wouldn't it be? Yeah. This is on page 120, if that means anything to you guys. But water your garden. Earth is a seasonal planet, and as such, you're a seasonal being, cyclic. You can't be on and in full bloom month after month, day after day after day. You're strongly being called to put on the brakes, rest and refuel, to take a moment to restock and replenish and slow right on down. Your body is the only body you're given, and it needs to be respected as such. How are you being called to put on the brakes, to rest, restore, and rejuvenate? When was the last time you took a holiday or had a full weekend, day, or afternoon off? Give yourself enough time to recover when you find yourself running on your reserves. What is your body yearning for? So part of the anxiety could also come just from exhaustion. And part of the exhaustion could come from thinking about like all the possible outcomes and mentally preparing for things that you haven't even done step one for. So I would definitely take a moment and consider just giving yourself like some self-care treatments, like do a face mask, do an everything shower, and allow yourself to feel what it's like to be nurtured, whether or not someone else is doing it for you. Because then when you are confident in the fact that you are taken care of, regardless of if anyone else does it for you, then it really doesn't matter what the outcome is, because you've expressed your feelings, and whether they reciprocate or not doesn't impact your sense of self-worth, right? And when you approach people from that state of mind, the confidence just really shines. So, wow. Interesting. Pile one, that's your reading for today. That's what you've been running away from. Let me know in the comments what the tea is about this person, because this was juicy. But yeah, I hope it resonated. If it did, please remember to like and subscribe, share this reading with someone who might enjoy it as well. Yeah, let me know the tea in the comments below. But thank you so much for being here and letting me read for you and for spending some time with me. I really hope this reading brought you some support and clarity. If it did, and if you'd like to support what I do, there is a link to my tip jar down in the description, and I would super appreciate your support. But yeah, you can stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hey, Pile 2, welcome. So, if you guys chose this jade crystal, then this is your reading on what you're running from. A little bit of tea. It's all good. It's going to be great. All right. So, the way I'm going to head and divided this reading up is this half of the reading is going to tell us what you're running away from right now and why. And ideally, this might validate a lot of your fears as to why you're running away from something. And then this half of the reading is going to tell us how you can go about healing it, facing this fear, and some advice. All right, so let's just dive right in. So what are you running away from? First, we have the Seven of Wands. And that is clarified by the Ten of Swords in reverse. It seems like there's a conflict where you've achieved some sort of success and it's almost like someone doesn't like seeing you successful. And so you're trying to avoid sort of shining just because it makes someone else uncomfortable. And you also may be trying to run away from a conflict that you know has to happen in order for you to defend your success. So the Seven of Wands it comes right after the Six of Wands, which is victory and celebration and joy. And then the Seven of Wands is the person who has won that victory having to then defend their position, defend their title almost. So it seems like something you've been successful with recently that you feel like you have to keep defending. It could be work related, it could be an accolade, it could be a title of some sort, a degree, something like this, where you keep having to prove to people that you really deserve it, that you really worked hard for it, or that, you really do fit the criteria for this, or you have the right qualifications, or whatever it is. And with the Ten of Swords in reverse, it's almost like you want to sort of give up, but you can't. You want to stop all this conflict about this, but you can't. And this is interesting. Let me just look at the other two cards because it's a little abstract. We have the Fool, and that's clarified by the Three of Pentacles. The Fool is new beginnings. The Three of Pentacles is collaboration, is working with someone new. So, okay. All right. Here's an idea. You may have just been assigned to a group for a project, and it almost feels like you're swimming upriver, where it's like you're having to fight for your voice to be heard within this group. It's like you've come into some sort of pre-established dynamic. And you're like the new kid in school, for instance, and you're almost having to fight to prove that you belong where you've been put. But what are you running away from? Perhaps the inevitable speech you're going to give, I'm hearing. That, those movies where kids are in middle school and then the new kid comes in and everyone bullies them or like hates them and doesn't speak to them, isolates them. And then the middle school kid that's just come in has to like go speak on stage and tell their life story so that the other kids might empathize with them. It feels like that's sort of a moment that has to happen, but you're sort of almost running away from it and trying to ignore it. That could also be something the Fool tells us. Do you see the imagery in this card? Do you see how like one of these is on the on like the table or the podium, having to explain to the other two how things are going, or like just one of these is sort of isolated from the others. That's so interesting. I love when images match up to what we're talking about. Um, but in all of these cards, there's the sense of isolation. So you might be feeling quite separated from the crowd, and not in a good way. It's like you might feel like there's no one really in your corner right now. But you also know that you've worked hard. There is very much a conviction inside you, an understanding of how hard you've worked to be where you are, and a knowing that you absolutely deserve to be here right now. So, like, that's not in question at all, never was. It's just this. You might come from a place where you were the best at what you do, and now you've been put into a more competitive environment. And maybe that's something that's worrying you right now, that you're shying away from, is the competition. That's another way to look at it. Like, for instance, you do really good in middle school and high school, and then when you go to university, it's a whole other ballgame, because while you may have been a gifted child in your local vicinity, a lot of universities only really take gifted children. So now you're among other gifted children, and suddenly your advantage is gone. It could be that sort of a situation as well. Let's see. The archetype card is the Shadow. Is this an ego thing? How to... You may have tied your sense of worth with being in a class of your own, honestly. You may have, and like that doesn't come from a place of judgment, because like, I was one of those. I'm a former gifted child. But you may have tied your sense of worth, your sense of identity, with the idea that you were better than your cohort, or you were capable of more than the average person in your general vicinity. And now you've been put into a place where everyone is just as capable of you. And that might be a terrifying prospect, because now you actually have to work as hard as everyone else was when you really got to slide, But let's take a look. This is number 28, in case that means anything to you. It could be an age. The Shadow, the unspeakable, the unwelcome, the denied. Although every card in the archetypes deck has a shadow potential, this card asks us to delve into the qualities of the shadow itself. We often think that the shadow can be purified, illuminated, and made right through effort and achievement. However, it is typically the case that our lofty pursuit of ascension and perfection is the very source of shadow material itself. By rejecting parts of ourselves and the world, we begin to separate from the whole. Rather than getting to know the qualities and content of our shadow, we busy ourselves with avoiding its presence. Find support for this deep inner work and move towards the shadow with patience and compassion. When light, revealing unconscious aspects of the self and world. When dark, denying unconscious aspects of the self and world. Okay, I think that has actually cleared a lot up, because this sense of feeling threatened by other people who might be quite capable in the same ways as you are might be triggering wounds that you didn't have, particularly wounds around perfectionism. You might not consider yourself a perfectionist. You might never have thought about it, or you might have, but knowingly or not, the reason that where you used to be before this, the reason that you were head and shoulders above the rest was because you went above and beyond. And now you're surrounded by everyone who goes above and beyond. And suddenly in your mind, that puts you behind. Well, you're not really behind, but because you're so used to being, number one, when you're surrounded by other number ones, it's quite threatening, and you might worry that means you're losing your shine, or that you will never be a success because suddenly your performance doesn't seem as fantastic as it did in comparison to people who maybe weren't quite as capable, right? And so there might be a bit of ego attached to your ability to perform, and that ego feels a little wounded right now. Look, I'm not going to mince words with you, okay? It's fine. We all have egos, and our ego is here to protect us. And where you used to be, you felt protected and cared for because of your performance and your ability period. And now you feel like that's not quite cutting it, and now your ego feels threatened. And so you're facing these fears, this sense of, am I being judged? Am I going to be ostracized because I'm not good enough? Whereas in the past, it never even occurred to you that you're constantly fighting to be good enough, because that was just your mode of operation, And now that you're in a position where that is the new normal, that is the average, now you're being forced to consider things outside of your performance. Are there other things that you may have completely ignored that actually play a huge part in your sense of self, that actually could reveal to you parts of your identity that you never considered before this? It seems like you're going into shadow work, and that is not easy, I'm going to be honest, but it will be worth it. So let's take a look at how you can heal this, how you can face this shadow, and what the outcome will be. We have the Queen of Swords. Radical honesty. Yeah, and that's clarified by Temperance in reverse. Okay, yeah. Radical honesty, particularly about areas of your life that have been very unbalanced. Okay, because if, say, this is giving me Hallmark movie vibes, but bear with me. Those Christmas movies, the Hallmark Christmas movies, where an executive in a big city who is used to being go, 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 and being praised for that, being all work and no play, and being rewarded for that kind of behavior, has to go into the small town to report on a lack of peppermint, I don't know. And suddenly people there are living fuller lives, and they don't attach their worth to how much money they earn or how much productivity they can muster up in a week. And they measure happiness by different standards. And then your protagonist realizes, oh, hang on a minute. Maybe there's more to life than just working at my publishing company. And maybe the true magic of Christmas is this small town girl who wears those knee-high boots with the leg warmers, right? So the point is, in order to get to that stage of accepting that maybe there's more to life than what you thought previously, you need to be very clear about where in your life you've allowed things to be just completely off kilter, because Temperance is a card of dynamic balance. It is not the kind of balance that creates stagnance. It is a kind of balance that keeps you growing and evolving while also taking the time to rejuvenate and enjoy the pleasures of life. And the Queen of Swords is someone who takes no nonsense. She does not mince words. She does not mess around. Anything that has to go will be gone. So you're being called to really be radically honest with yourself about what areas of your life have been tipped too much towards one side than the other. And when you're able to do that, whoa, the dogs just went crazy outside. I'm sorry about that, guys. But when you're able to do that and look your shadow in the face as you heal it, as you work with it, rather than trying to just brush it under a rug, that is when you start to realize that there is more to you than what you can do. That there is more to you than your grades or your salary or your performance or your charity. You know, there is more to you than what you can do for people or how you can perform. Next we have the Five of Wands. More of that conflict energy, clarified by the Six of Coins. Okay. I think once you're able to work through this, you'll get to a point where conflict isn't as scary anymore. And it's not so much about defending your place in a team. And it's more about opportunities to learn. Because the Five of Wands is not people trying to come for your throne. It's people trying to be better. It's in this context, it's you know how baby animals will play fight, and it's not because they hate each other or they want to fight or argue. It is because they are learning valuable skills. They are learning how to ward off a predator. They're learning how to run and how to bite and when to stop and when to attack and things like that. That's the vibe I get from the Five of Wands in this particular deck. It's practice. It's conflict that hones your skill. Whereas the Six of Coins is all about generosity, about giving. And you might find that not only do you look at conflicts very differently, where in the past you may have taken it as a call for you to defend your position and defend your pride, you might now look at conflicts as opportunities to learn and to be better at what you do. You might look at them as a pop quiz as opposed to a lawsuit, where one teaches you what your limitations are and what you need to study better for, whereas the other is just there to like drain you, really, right? And you might also notice that through these conflicts, you're able to find a lot more kindness towards yourself and towards other people, where you stop seeing people so much as competition and you start seeing them as cohabitants of the same space, where it's like, yes, resources might not be unlimited, but there is plenty to go around. And I can very much share the limelight with other people. It feels like an ego death coming your way, pal 2, and it's not going to be the easiest thing, but it will be so worth it. And finally, let's take a look at your advice from the Starseed Oracle deck. We have the Cosmic Heart. devotion, potency, make your life a moving prayer. Yeah, it's that energy of like dynamic balance of things aren't going to be stagnant, and you will evolve and grow and you'll constantly be in motion. Life will maintain its fast pace. However, you're going to learn how to connect to your heart. You're going to place your sense of self-worth in something more powerful than human measures of worth, something more substantial than just your value as an asset of capitalism. But let's go ahead and see what the book says about this, because there's more here, I feel. The Cosmic Heart. When you surrender to a state of devotion, you find yourself flowing with all of life. You're being called to refocus your attention deep within to the intelligence of your own heart, to bow with deep reverence to your inner temple, to live your life in devotion to this place, to make your life one big moving prayer. There are seasons for harvesting and seasons for sowing. Right now, you're being called to plant your soul's seeds and sing to them with deep devotion, to feed them with the sweet waters of your own soul, to lose yourself in the potency of what it is that most expands your heart. How can you make your life a moving prayer? So maybe you're being called to refocus a little bit, where instead of thinking so much about how you're perceived in the world around you, or what people think of you, or what people might think of you if you make one wrong move, maybe you're being called to look inwards and ask yourself, will making these moves make me happy? What does my soul want from this situation? Why have I been put here? What is my purpose? And are the ways in which I measure my worth truly a sustainable way of measuring my self-worth? You're being called to go deeper, to do a lot of shadow work, particularly with healing the ego, and to really redefine where your sense of worth comes from. It's going to be a powerful change, Part 2. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to take work, but I promise you it will be so worth it. So that's your reading for today, Part 2. I really hope it resonated with you. If it did, please remember to like and subscribe. Comment below what the tea is with your situation, because I'm really curious. I'm a little nosy about this, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your time and energy with me and letting me read for you today. I really do hope it brought you some support and clarity. You can always stick around to the outro for another channel on my reading. Another reading on my channel. Wow, I fully said that backwards. It's quite late, Part 2, okay? Don't judge me. Stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Pile number 3, hello. If you guys chose this citrine crystal, welcome. Today we're taking a look at what the tea is about what you're running away from, why you're running away from it, and how you can face this thing that you're running away from, and how you can work through the fear and heal it and all of that good stuff. So I've gone ahead and divided this reading into 2 halves. This half of the cards will tell us what it is that you seem to be running away from, why this is such a big fear, and where you're coming from, really. And then this half will tell us why you need to heal it, how you can go about healing it, and what the outcome of the situation will be. So The two readings we've recorded so far have been very, very interesting and very different to each other. So let's go ahead and dive right in. And already, by the way, I feel like taking my slippers off and like stepping on the soft rug that's under my feet. So you might be someone who's in need of comfort right now, like physical comfort. But let's just dive right in. We have the Three of Wands in reverse, and that is clarified by the Ten of Wands. All right. Straight away, yeah, like I said, I was getting the vibe of, yeah, and now my room feels too cold as well. I'm just gonna, yeah, turn the temperature up a little bit on my air conditioning. It feels like you currently really need some physical comfort, like a warm place, a warm drink, some comfy socks, blanket to snuggle up in. Because with the Three of Wands in reverse clarified by the Ten of Wands, it just feels like you're tired, pile three. It feels like you're exhausted, like you're overworked, and it is to the point where you can't even see beyond your current situation. Like it's destroyed your optimism almost, where you're so bogged down in the day to day, in making ends meet, in working paycheck to paycheck, or whatever that situation may be. You're so caught up in it that you can't even imagine a future, let alone plan for it. And that's interesting. I'm not quite getting what you seem to be running away from, but I do feel like you're running. You're like a hamster in a wheel. It's like you're everywhere. You're doing everything. And no matter how much you do, it doesn't feel like it's enough because there's always something else to do. This could, of course, be about, work and having to work crazy hours in order to put food on the table. It could also be something like maybe you're a new parent and, things are wild and like you feel like there'll be no end to the craziness that's going on. Or maybe you've recently been given a promotion of some sort or been put in charge of a lot of people who need a lot of directing, and suddenly you have both hands full and then some. But whatever it is, it feels like exhaustion. It feels like you really need to soak your feet in a tub of warm soapy water and forget about the world. um Interesting. That wasn't quite the intention of this reading, but I don't like to interrupt the cards because sometimes there's a message for people whether they want it or not, whether they seek it or not, but we'll see. We have the Eight of Cups in reverse, okay. And the Five of, right, okay. And the Five of Pentacles. This is most likely about a job, about some sort of work you're doing, and you very clearly understand that this is not sustainable, that this is not what you can honestly do for the foreseeable future. Like, you don't have much more to give, like you're running on empty right now. And you really, deep down that you need to walk away from the situation, but you're not, out of fear that you won't be able to afford life anymore. And that is a completely valid fear. It is completely fair. And so it seems like what you're running away from, and I don't even like using that phrasing for this situation anymore, because it's like running away from implies that you're making a choice, and it almost feels like you have no choice in the situation, where you fully know that you want to walk away, but there is so much in the way of making that feasible. right? It's you're overworked, you're stressed, for little pay, and yet it seems like there's no options out there. However, this could be alluding, this Three of Wands in reverse, could be alluding to the idea that maybe there are options out there, but you're not aware of them yet. And you're not quite noticing them yet, because of how much of your energy goes into just barely surviving. To clarify, we have the castle. Okay, so this is interesting that this card came out because it has a very specific meaning, and I am going to read this from the book because I don't want to mess it up because it's phrased beautifully. This is number 43, I think. Right, the castle, the palace, the penthouse, the fortress. It's no wonder fairy tales tell of sleeping princesses within castle walls. Like most archetypes, the castle is loaded with duality. It represents abundant riches, seductive fantasy, ornate wonders, and lavish adornments. Yet the walls are thick, cold, and shadowy. This card points to a tendency to hold on to possessions or position that project the image of achievement, while the soul longs to run barefoot in the forest, leaving it all behind. At times we must settle down, yet the castle lulls us with its spell of materialism, and we fall asleep to our deepest dreams. The castle can be a motivating force, an enchanting goal to travel towards, but it is best not to linger within its walls of decadent deception for too long. When light, visiting your throne of power. When dark, stuckness, depression, spells, walls. Yeah, it feels like whatever you're doing currently, it is so much work, but it is financial stability. It is security. And the idea of walking away is so enchanting, is so exciting, is so promising. But it's like there's almost like a blindfold, or like what are those things called that you put on horses to make sure they only look one way? Are those blinders? I forget what they're called, but it's like you have those on where you're so caught up in the day-to-day that it seems like the world has narrowed down to going from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday to Friday and back to Monday. It's like you might not even register your days off. You might not even register the time that you rest. Your sleep may not be restful. And it feels like you're caught in a rat race with no way out. But I also get the feeling that a lot of this might have to do with shifting perspective and thinking outside the box. There's a literal box here. But let's take a look at how you can face this and how you can work through it and grow beyond it, because it feels like you're really not getting what you deserve, Pal 3. It feels like all the work you're doing deserves more pay than you're actually getting. It deserves more rewarding than you're actually being given. So let's see. We have the Two of Coins, clarified by the Ace of Cups. Okay. It seems like there is opportunity out there that might require a little more balancing, in the sense of you may have to forego certain luxuries and prioritize the necessities. However, they will bring you the emotional rewards that you seek. And it might be about sacrificing certain beliefs, sacrificing certain behaviors, certain habits in order to prioritize happiness. Um, I'm trying to think of an example. So, say for instance, there's say for instance, you have I can't even think of an example that doesn't seem like I'm preaching, because I'm really not. I'm really not trying to preach and be like, oh, you should sacrifice certain things so that you can be happy, because that I don't believe in that. However, there might be a temporary way to forgo certain luxuries in order to, for the moment, prioritize emotional fulfillment. And then once you establish yourself in a new paradigm, you can work your way back up to this position. So, for instance, the example that came to me, and please don't take this as me telling you what to do, it's just an example. But say now someone has a 2-car household, right? 2 cars, lots of money to maintain them both. And it's taking a lot of work to really keep everything running. Maybe you carpool, let go of one of the cars, and find a job that maybe pays a little bit less but doesn't expect you to sell your entire life in order to be able to afford 2 cars. And then you work your way up at the new place, which is way better for your mental health, and then you buy back your second car. It's like a temporary step back, like a temporary step back where you say, okay, here's some things that I can go without for the moment, if it means I can have some semblance of control over what I do with my time. Because it feels like it's either that or you manifest like hell, or you like go crazy with the affirmations and doing all the magic that you can do, which is also completely fair enough. This one might just work quicker in the 3D world. Whereas manifestation really takes a lot of internal mental shifts, which can take longer. And it seems like you're at a breaking point right now. So maybe do both. Maybe step away from this insanity for a moment, for the moment, and find something that brings you a little more peace, even if it means taking a step back for a little bit, and then manifest like hell. In either case, it feels like you're very, very much being called to prioritize your own peace, your own mental health, and to not just see the charm of money, but to realize that if there's no you, there is no money. And so you have to sometimes put your health first, physical and mental, Next, we have the High Priestess. Oh, yes, manifest like hell. Clarified by the Queen of Wands. Beautiful. I think you're very much being advised to go inwards, obviously, with the High Priestess. Meditate for a bit, listen to your intuition and all of that. But also, think about things that actually make you happy, things that make you feel passionate and excited to get up in the morning. Are there little things that you can incorporate into your current daily routine without making any big changes that would bring you little moments of joy? Maybe something like, oh, you enjoy looking at the clouds and finding shapes in them. Maybe take some time every morning before you drive to work or walk to work or whatever. Maybe take like 2 minutes to look at the clouds and see what they have to say. Or you like a little coffee before you go to work. Maybe ask for an extra bit of caramel in it. A little tiny shift that can put you in a completely different headspace, because the issue isn't that there aren't any opportunities around you. The issue is that you're not seeing them, because the way our brains are wired is we get hit by millions and millions of sensory inputs a day, and there's only a few of them that we genuinely register, and even fewer that we actually respond to. And so a lot of the reason why things like gratitude and things like finding little pockets of joy in your day, the reason why those work is because they are reprogramming the ARAS, the ascending reticular activating system in your brain, which brings your attention to the important stuff. And if you're programmed to only consider hard work and running around like a crazy person, if you're programmed to only prioritize those things and things that relate to those things, there's nothing else you can see. And so by consciously making the effort to focus your attention on things that genuinely make you happy, you might be able to reprogram that system to give you sensory input that might make your life easier, that might actually help, that might help you get out of the situation in a sustainable way. It's not that the opportunities are not around you, it is just that you are not familiar with them because you haven't noticed them. That's what I said right at the very beginning. So what's your advice, Pal 3? You got the love, Hadarian energy, codependency, boundaries. Yeah, I think there definitely has to be a lot of boundaries drawn, particularly if you're the kind to bring work home with you. I think that could be a solid boundary to draw that no one could really fault you for. And if they do, that's a them problem, because you're not legally, contractually obligated to bring any work home with you. Now, I know people like to twist that stuff around with HR and everything, but if you're able to draw that boundary without damaging your work life too much, I would, honestly. But let's go ahead and read this one from the book. This is the Starseed Oracle. So you can take this as a message from the universe, from the starseeds. The Hadarians are believed to be beacons of pure, divine, unconditional love who see love in all people and situations. As a result, they can find it hard to have boundaried, interdependent, healthy relationships because they only see the unconditional nature of those that they meet. They're here to learn how to love while in a separate body, to learn to love self first and then establish healthy relationships with others. The message of this card is to review the ways you may need to establish healthier boundaries. Perhaps you're in a codependent relationship in which you may be losing your sense of self. It's common for starseeds to dive deep into relationships, particularly with those who feel safe and familiar. Or perhaps there's a certain volatility to it and you're always unsure where you stand. To acknowledge, this card is assigned to do a relationship review and see what energetic agreements you've made, consciously or unconsciously, to acknowledge if there are relationships in which you feel anxious or powerless, to assess if there are any places of inadequacy that you've used a relationship to soothe and cover up. How can you develop a deeper love for yourself? Whoa. Okay. Now, this could very much be about like a relationship or like your love life. But to me personally, this is almost feeling like your relationship with work, your relationship with money, with abundance, with productivity, with the things that you tie your self worth to. Maybe you believe that you only deserve a certain amount of money no matter how much work you do. And maybe you believe that you are not worthy of easier work for whatever reason. Like a lot of us feel like unless we have the right qualifications, that we don't deserve a certain amount of money, or unless we have the right background, that we might not be capable of getting a high paying job that requires less effort. There's a million different things that you could believe about yourself that could be sabotaging your ability to earn more for less work. And it might be time to draw a boundary there with yourself, with your sense of identity. And it is very much, this entire reading has very much been about recognizing areas in which you need to show yourself a little more grace, a little more compassion, a little more love. And when you're able to do that is when you start to notice things that will further grow this love, further enhance your self-worth. And that includes opportunities to make more money for less work because you're worth it. L'Oreal Paris. But that's your reading for today, Pal 3. I really hope it resonated. Let me know the tea in the comments below because this one was interesting. But I know this is a difficult situation, but I know you will get through this and you will do better by yourself because that is what you deserve, okay? You'll do better by yourself for me. But yeah, Pal 3, thank you so much for being here and letting me read for you. I really hope this reading brought you some sort of comfort, some sort of clarity. If it did, please remember to like and subscribe for more readings. You can stick around to the outro just after this for another reading on my channel. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.